You give the welcome.
A very good morning. A very good morning to all of you, and to welcome our Honorable Chief Minister, Chief Conrad Sangma, our Commissioner Secretary Finance, Dr. Vijay Kumar, the other officials who are here, the colleagues from the Finance Department, and all the invitees who have spared the valuable time to be here, to be present in this pre-budget consultation 25-26. I welcome all of you individually and also to those representing the different organizations and the societies from across the various districts who are here today. Without much further ado, we will go ahead with today's program by requesting our Commissioner and Secretary, Dr. Vijay Kumar, to kindly give a presentation on the budget.
Honorable Chief Minister, officials from various departments, and
all the members from various walks of life, invitees who have come to participate in the pre-budget exercise. So I'd like to take this opportunity to once again welcome everyone, to welcome our Honorable Chief Minister. This is indeed, I think, an exercise which we are doing after a very, very long time, calling everyone here. So this presentation that I'd like to share is a very short presentation which gives a sense of what the budget is and what the state government is trying to do. After that, we have the opening remarks and by the Honorable Chief Minister, where Sir will further expand on the various issues. So it's a short presentation to give a sense, and the purpose of the pre-budget consultations, as we all know, is to get inputs from everybody on how the budgeting exercise can become more efficient, so that we can use it as a tool to achieve the objectives of making Meghalaya a developed state, the Mission 10 that we have set up. So can we go to the first slide, please? So in the very first slide which we wanted to show is on the GSDP trajectory. If we look at the gross state domestic product, so Meghalaya's growth trend, which I think we have been harping in every meeting, this is the slide which we have shown in the previous presentation also. This is the slide which we have shown to the Finance Commission also. And the chairperson of the Finance Commission also appreciated the growth rate of Meghalaya. If we look at the growth trajectory over the last during the period 2015 to about 20, so our growth overall, the CAGR, was only about 8.4%. But I think post-COVID, so thanks to the growth of the Indian economy is also growing well, and also more importantly, I think the specific steps that are taken by the state government under the leadership of our Honorable Chief Minister. So the growth rate numbers are very clear. The growth is about 16% if you take the CAGR. So as we move along, based on this very strong growth numbers, that is the reason why we have set out on this ambitious goal that Meghalaya will become a $10 billion economy by 2028. Because the growth numbers are good, and these numbers are all MOFSP numbers, which is the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation of the Government of India. So, and if we look at the table below, we can also see overall, as I said, the country's growth rate is also good post-COVID, but Meghalaya is one of the few states in the country where the growth rate is even higher than the national numbers. So this is the first slide which I want to draw everybody's attention, which is, I think, the entire budgeting exercise, our entire aspirations for the future, everything relies on the growth of the state, and those numbers look very good. Next. So the growth, Meghalaya's growth, as we all know, because growth is a function of public investment, of private investments, private capital, savings. So one of the most important things that is fueling Meghalaya's growth is the government expenditure. So if we just look at the government's, the size of the government's budget and the expenditure numbers over the last, again, we took a longish trend over a 10-year period. So if we look from 14-15, so the size of the expenditure is typically what the size of the budget is. So the expenditure 10 years ago government expenditure was only 7,600 crores. last year, which is year 23-24, our expenditure was 21,800, which is close to 22,000 crores. So which means it increased 3 times. So in a 10-year period, the government's expenditure increased 3 times. So that is the kind of growth we have seen, and it is this growth. So obviously when government expenditure increases, what happens? Basically better roads, more water supply, more schools, more programs that benefit the citizens. So that is what happens. So therefore, if you look at our the table next to it, there is the expenditure is categorized into revenue and capital. Revenue means revenue expenditure is the expenditure that is made to run the administration of salaries, various kind of ongoing schemes, all that fall under revenue. Capital expenditure is the expenditure we make on new schemes. So if you look at our capital expenditure number, which we have highlighted, the growth rate of capital expenditure in the last 4 years has been 34%. So which means the state is spending more. In the last 10 years, we had a 3-time increase in the expenditure. In that, our focus in the last 5 years has been on capital expenditure, which means newer projects are being taken up. So all these are the ones that are leading to growth. So this is the expenditure scenario. Next. If we look at the expenditure breakup by state and central, again, so both on the state front and the central front we are doing, but one thing in the state front, if we see, our growth rate has been 15%, which means this whole expenditure, while central has been growing, it is state expenditure which is driving this, which means that it is not just the centrally sponsored scheme, but it is a state scheme. State government now has more money to take up various programs, and as you can see, there's a 15% growth in the period 2021 to 24 in the state expenditure. Next, please. Then, as I said, we break the expenditure into revenue and capital. So revenue is, as it is listed there, the normal things that we do to run the state, which is salaries, pensions. These are compulsory expenditures that are unavoidable, that are necessary to run the state. So let's say if we build a new building, a new stadium, the operation and maintenance of the stadium is revenue expenditure, but the investment we make to construct is capital expenditure. So this revenue expenditure, again, if we see, it is going up, but if you see, for example, things like salaries and pensions, so they are not going up so much. So the growth rate of salaries in the period 21 to 24 was only 6%, pensions 14% compared to 12 and 18%. So which means, while our expenditure is going, the revenue part is not the one. It's not the revenue expenditure that is increasing, it is the capital expenditure. And because capital expenditure is increasing, that is what will lead to growth. Next. So this is the revenue receipts. This is again very interesting because this shows where is this money coming from. Because till now I have shown what is the expenditure, how much we are spending. So where does our money come from? If you see our money coming from, I'll request to focus on the table. So if you look at the state's own revenue, so first there is the state's own revenue. In state's own revenue, we have tax revenue and non-tax revenue. So that is growing. Then we have transfers from the center. Transfers from the center is basically the centrally sponsored schemes and various programs. That is growing a lot. So if you see 21% is the growth rate in the transfers from the center. So which means over the last 4 or 5 years, whether it is Jal Jeevan Mission, whether it is Narega, whether it is PMAY, so the state has been able to leverage a lot of these programs, get more money. So that is increasing. And then the next one, which is what is called a share in central taxes. I think share in central taxes is the one that is increasing the most. So 24% growth is there in the share of central taxes. That is the money that is constitutionally mandated that the government of India divides between the states. So this we can attribute to 2 reasons. One is the Indian economy is doing well. As the Indian economy is doing well, whatever share the government of Meghalaya gets, that is increasing. And second, I'd like to take a moment here to explain, this share of central taxes is decided by the Finance Commission.
Also to this slide because it's important for everybody to understand. And why are we showing this slide? Because a lot of people are of the opinion that this growth that we are seeing is being funded by debt and by us taking loans. And that is the misconception that we want to clarify with this particular slide. The loans and the debts, of course, are an important part of the investments that are made and the fund that comes in. But those are capped by Government of India. We can't take more than what Government of India allows every state to take. So there is a limited scope for us to go forward. So this chart shows to you, or at least indicates where the money is coming from. So a jump of 24% in central taxes, and our CSS, the transfer from the centers, which is a centrally sponsored schemes, 21% growth in that, and state's own revenue also has gone up. These are the things that have driven a majority of our growth. So this is a very, very important slide to clear the misconception that our growth is being driven by debt. I also want to draw your attention to the second row out there, third row, which talks about the state's own non-tax revenue. And you can see that it's 0% growth there. And the reason is very simple. Non-tax revenue is actually the royalty and the cess that we get from coal and other products, and obviously that is where we have been facing a huge challenge, but we are on the way to change that. And just to share with all of you, just about 2 days back, the Ministry of Coal has gone to the 2 locations of the scientific mining sites, and they have conducted their survey. We are expecting the reports to be put in about a day or 2. And as I said, we are at the final stage of the final scientific mining. So we expect that number also to now slowly grow. So in all fronts, things are moving forward. And as I said, I just wanted to add to what Dr. Vijay has mentioned, that our growth and our investment and expenditure is driven by these resources and not just the debt and the loan, which a lot of misconception is there. Of course, debt and loan is part of the process and the money that comes in, but it is not what has led to the growth, because that is limited. There's a limited amount we can take. We can't take beyond that.